Motivational Monday. We're back again. It's another
Another beautiful day. Another beautiful day. Please let it stay like this.
I know. And do you know what? It's so lovely. I've just been out for a walk with my doggy. And this morning, I went out for a very early morning walk, and there was a bird. The birds are very loud at the moment, as we know, darling, being a bird. And actually, there was one bird I could hear, and it was screeching so loud. And I've been trying to find out what bird it is, because, I mean, this was like a solitary screech.
Harry, that sounds like a crow or if it's... But the problem is, Dee, that they're all mating right now. And so they're going, where is he? Where is she? That's what that is, because the ducks are doing the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, I went out this morning, and as I keep telling you, it's really, really dangerous on that canal. Death on the canal. And it's all the ladies have got 2 or 3 men with them. And I'm ready. I'm going to sit on that bank and I'm going to stop those boys.
Yes.
I'm going to do everything in my power to stop those boys doing what they do to girls. So I'm going to be there. But they are screaming. They are going.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think it was an owl or anything, because owls are nocturnal, aren't they?
Yes,
that's right.
It could be a goose.
A magpie, darling.
Oh, it could be a Maggie, yes.
They shout a lot. But I just want to say that even though there are lots of birds shouting because they're mating, and as you brought up, Dee, we are birds, but I think that precludes us, obviously. Anyway, moving on.
Shouting? I've never shouted, ever. Have you ever shouted?
No, we don't even want to talk about that. Girls, it's the afternoon. As for a late show. Now, we have joining us in our nest today, we have the wonderful author, businesswoman. Well, actually, what this woman hasn't done is quite incredible, but she's a very interesting person to fly into our nest, and she's going to be talking to us later about her new book. But please welcome the wonderful Helen Field. Hi, Helen.
Hi, Helen. Welcome to our nest.
Now, you have done the most incredible things in your life. I know you're on here to talk about your new book, which we'll talk about later, but you kind of done everything, haven't you, really? I mean, when I read your CV, you know, you're a businesswoman, you're an inspirator, you've done loads and loads of different stuff. Where did it start?
Mum said to me that when I was little, I said to her, I never want to lead a boring life. And I think, to be fair, as she pointed out over the years, I've absolutely stuck to my
word. Yeah,
you have.
And I live by a motto today, which I have to say I encourage many people to live by. Well, it's not actually, it's a saying, a quote from Leonardo da Vinci, which some of you may have heard. But he basically said, it has long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sit back and let things happen to them. They go out and happen to things.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we do. We happen, because that's how the WonderBirds happen, because we made it happen. Now, what interests me about you is because I'm fascinated by this, because I do a lot of work with the Caravan Club. Now, you have gone around in a 40-year-old camper van. Tell us about your camper van.
It's 20 years old, actually, not 40.
Oh.
Okay. So it's an auto sleeper Symphony. So it's a pretty old model. And my husband and I decided we were going to stop working for a little bit back in 2019 to do some traveling. So he has got an eye condition, and you know, it's not great. And we thought, while he's still got good eyesight, we're going to go and do some traveling. So we bought this camper van and decided to travel around Europe. So we went to Spain and France and Belgium for 4 months, you know, traveling across all of those countries. And it was absolutely incredible. We had no idea whether we would enjoy it. We didn't know whether we could, survive such close proximity 24/7 for 4 months without completely killing each other. But it was fine. And we just had a ball. And we wild camped, ladies. We wild camped every single night. Which means we didn't pay a penny in any rent anywhere.
Wow.
Fabulous, fabulous.
That's
But
fantastic.
so what did you have to do about washing and things?
Oh, it's a little bit civilized. It's got a toilet and it's got like a shower in the toilet. It's like a little wet room type thing, but very small, you know, fairly basic. So that was fine, but you obviously have to fill up with water. We have to go to the campsite sometimes to empty, you know, the grotty stuff when it needs to be done. And we did find ourselves on 1 or 2 occasions out of water, and that was pretty serious. And I was at the point where I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have to stop that man with his hose pipe in the garden right now and pay him to let us get water in the camper van, because we really were without anything. And but it was great fun. The only real problem we had is when a fault, and it was a fairly serious fault, developed in the van when we got to the southern part of Spain. It decided it no longer wanted to go into reverse gear.
Oh no!
Oh no!
I'd often felt like that. I'm sorry. But
Reverse gear.
That was one of the most stressful things that has ever happened to me in my life.
God. So, Helen, I want to ask you about owning a restaurant, because I owned a restaurant in Surrey from about 89 to 2003, I think it was. And I would rather stick pins in my eyes than ever own a restaurant. And I told everybody, if you ever think about it, go and take a very big drink and don't do it. Did you feel the same, or do you feel the same now?
Well, I totally get where you're coming from with your reaction. The only thing I would say is that whilst, you know, in the end I had to sell mine because it was, you know, I started it in probably one of the worst years in living history, and that was the year where the recession hit, the financial recession, the early 90s, and the interest rates were going up from, well, in fact, they went from something like 7% up to 16% in the time that
I remember. Yeah,
it couldn't have been more disastrous for me if I tried. So in that respect, it was just very sad, because it was a bit before its time as well. It was a no smoking restaurant. Now, can you imagine that was back before the law dictated that that's what you could do. And it was a brave decision, and some people were very critical of it. Others thought it was the best thing ever. You know, it was a bit before its time, but the reason I can't completely agree with you is simply because I made a career out of my learning, my failings, and the things I did wrong, the things that happened, all those lessons that I learned, I actually used for the next 20 years working in hospitality. So
I agree with that. And also, Helen, mine was bring your own wine, and you know, at that time it was a very novel thing. And everybody, the only problem is, Helen, and you'll get this, so people would bring 6, 7 bottles of wine with 4 people and sit there till 2 o'clock in the morning until I had to throw them out. I wasn't making a penny.
Yeah, no, I completely sympathise. I mean, it's a very, very tough business. But also, I mean, for me, again, the setting up of it, you know, the raising of the money, I had to write a very comprehensive business plan. I did all of that. I set it up, and I was really proud of what I achieved there. But the actual day-to-day running of it, if I'm honest, it just wasn't stimulating enough for me.
No.
And I think if you want to be in hospitality, you know, operationally out there full time, you have just got to love everything about it. And there were things about it that I didn't love, and it was just never going to be something I realized that I would do permanently.
No,
so,
me neither.
Helen, you talk about not being boring, and you talk about being brave, and these two things culminate in you actually riding a motorbike, and I'm so envious, because I've always wanted to do that. So have you been doing that for a long time?
Well, crazily, I took my test at 50, which was quite brave. But so basically, my husband and I, when we were working in London, both of us at the same time, we had 3 small children at home with a nanny, and we were commuting up and down on Nick's motorbike for 3 years, and I was on the back. And I got to really enjoy being on the back of a motorbike, and I remember thinking, you know, one day I'd like to do this. So I'd kind of had the back of the bike experience and thought, yeah, why not? And it got to 50 and I thought, well, I haven't done anything exciting for a while, so let's give it a go. So I did, failed my test twice, which was not great for the confidence. And my instructor, he said, I cannot understand why you're not passing your test. He said, you are a good rider. And I knew I was a good rider. And I'd done some rally car racing as well that my husband had bought me as a present. And the guy on that said, you are a really good driver. How did you manage that? Well, just on the roads of Britain, really, you know, just learning the way. And then I finally passed it on my third go because I had a lady instructor on that day, and she said, Helen, just smile under your crash helmet and enjoy it. She said, enjoy it. And, you know, I did. That's exactly what I did. And I,
you know, we're a little bit sort of around 50 plus.
Speak for yourself.
So it's never too late. I know Harriet's only 25, but it's actually never too late to actually learn.
Definitely not. I promise you, there were older people there than me. So truly, it is, and it's such a joy. It's such a pleasure. It's good fun. I mean, I'm a fair weather rider, to be honest, having commuted up to London in all weathers, including sleet.
Darling, I want to talk to you about, first of all, your lovely St. David's Day daffodils behind you.
Yes.
And a salute to that, because it's an important day, obviously.
Yes.
And also below that is your book, The Mystery Shopper and the Hot Tub. And I have been trying to put those two things together and make sense of it. And I can only think that the mystery shopper travels around in a hot tub. Would that be correct?
Do you know, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to disappoint you. It's much more.
Oh, no.
Actually, that's the book. I hope you can all see it. It's a great cover. Really, really fun.
So please, darling, tell us all about it.
So basically, The Mystery Shopper and the Hot Tub is about a young working class couple from Essex called Dean and Brooke Diaz, and they have a little baby daughter called Paige who screams constantly and whose mother pacifies the screams because she doesn't believe in dummies, you know, with Chupa Chups lollipops. So that's what she gives her instead of a dummy. Anyway,
sounds very good.
They have aspirations. They have aspirations in life. They have dreams. And Brooke in particular, she's a very demanding woman. You know, she's very socially ambitious, and for her, the epitome of success in her social circle would be to have a hot tub. So she wants to do everything in her power to get a hot tub. She's bored stiff at home. She's got no money. She's constantly pecking her husband to get more money, to get promoted at work so they can have this hot tub. He absolutely worships the ground she stands on, wants her to have it, so takes on a job secretly as a mystery shopper. And then Brooke decides that in order to be financially independent, she just can't stand being at home any longer. So she secretly takes the job at a local country house under a lady called Lady Townsend. And from there, she's introduced to the world of the upper classes. But she keeps it secret from Dean because Dean does not want her to work. He's very old-fashioned, wants to protect her because she's got a few medical issues and very unfortunate feet.
So now I'm going to ask you, darling, my mother was a writer, and I went to sleep going to the sound of her typing. And she wrote novels, films, all sorts, all her life. But I know it started when she was young. Yes. Where did this start? Because you also wrote cards, didn't you? You did all sorts of things. So tell us, how did it all begin?
Well, my earliest memory is at junior school, was making up little witty verses about my schoolmates. I would, even from a young age, I think what always used to appeal to me was observing people, characters, and finding not necessarily the faults in them, but the things that made those people what they were. So if you imagine a caricature that an artist draws, I see my writing and my poetry in particular, my funny poetry, as a written equivalent of a caricature. I pick the little bits about people that are really funny and I turn them into verse and turn them into rhyme.
I would like you to write one about the WonderBirds, please.
Oh,
as you've witnessed the pecking order in the nest. I would like you to write.
As well.
That's what I said, the pecking order. Would you
promise.
please?
Yeah, no problem at all, and I will send it off to you.
Great.
Thank you.
But the other thing I remember as a child was standing up this was in secondary school, and the English teacher had set us an essay to write, and she'd asked me to stand up in front of the class and read my essay out to the class because she thought it was so funny. And I remember the name of the essay. It was called The Goldfish Who Spoke. And it was about a goldfish in a bowl and the bowl was in the child's bedroom, and whenever the child came in, it would hear this noise and couldn't work out where it was coming from, and it was the goldfish talking to it. And it just stemmed from there. And I have
Fantastic.
never stopped writing funny poems about people. I had another little business called Dotty Ditties, where I did this poetry for best man speeches. I've written hundreds of best man speeches.
Brilliant.
People can get, if they really want me to write something for them, I absolutely can do it. Just go through my author website, which is helenefield.com. It's on Amazon at the moment, so $9.99 for the paperback, $2.99 on Kindle, and if you've got Kindle Unlimited, then obviously you get it free. If you turn over the page at the end, there is a link that takes you to a free download of a sequel. So I've written a little mini sequel.
I was going to say, have you written the next one? Yeah.
Well, the mini sequel's done, and people can read that after this one. And I'm now on my second book in the series, so I'm nearly at the end of it now. So that should come out hopefully a bit later on in the year.
And what's that called?
Oh my God.
There's no name to it yet. It's a bit outrageous, and it's a little bit politically incorrect. So it may not.
That's what we like to hear.
We love it, dear.
both those
Thank
things.
you so much. Come back to our nest soon, my darling. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen.
Thank you so much, Helen.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Oh, I can't wait
Fun.
to read that book.
I know. I know. So exciting.
I'm getting a motorbike.
So, ladies, I want to bring in a wonderful presenter. She's just a fantastic lady, and everybody loves her, and we love her. And she's come back to see us. It's the fabulous Carrie Grant. Where are you, Carrie?
Hi.
There
Hi,
she
darling.
is. Welcome back, darling.
Thanks for having me back.
I know, and your hair looks great.
You
You've
look
done your
fabulous.
Only the front looks good. The back, don't look at the back.
Yeah, no, never
Oh.
turn round, Carrie. Never turn round.
No.
Never turn
Now,
up
I'm the
stage,
first
darling.
one today. So my question to you is about the College of Medicine of treatment choices.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit like you. I just think not that we shouldn't take any notice of doctors, and I don't mean it that way, but I think you know your own body and you know what's going on most of the time. I don't mean for major things. I'm just thinking most of the time. And I know you talk on this. So what is your passion for it?
Yeah, well, my passion is this, that just over 100 years ago, in the time of the Victorians, our NHS was born, but hospitals were there for critical care. So, and we haven't really moved away from that model in over 100 years. So hospitals are for crisis. Okay, then you put that together with the fact that we are all living 10 to 15 years longer, but I think at our ages, I think the stats show that many of us have more than 2 chronic conditions. So we're living longer, but we're sicker. And that's the issue. And that's the strain that happens on the NHS, is that we all need access. People like me that have got Crohn's disease, I'm going to cost a lot of money. I'm not critically ill, but from the age of 18 to now, you know, I've probably cost the system a lot of money. And that didn't used to be the case. So we're living longer, but we're sicker. So what the NHS have done is, over the years, they've created what we call treatment pathways. You get diagnosed with something, then you're told this is your pathway that you're on. This is a great idea in many ways, but in other ways, it doesn't really always allow for flexibility. So for someone like me that might say, I don't actually want to take infusion drugs, that really doesn't sit with me. I would like to try a diet. I really feel that the diet actually works best for my Crohn's disease. But I'll be told, no, you can't do that because you have to stick to the pathway, which is to take your infusion drugs. So I think the choices are not always there for patients. So the work that I'm doing is to really fight to put the patient at the center of all those decisions. So that might even go at the College of Medicine. We do things like, we really push forward things like social prescribing. We've had people that have been stuck in their houses with mental illness, taking a whole cocktail of drugs for many years perhaps, and then they've been given the opportunity to do art classes. Totally different prescription, but it's on prescription. They may have had to wait to get onto the course, a 6-week course of art classes. I remember hearing this story from a lady telling it, saying that saying she'd been on drugs for 30 years of medication, and now she could get out the house. Not only that, but she was then selling her art, so she had then got an opportunity to have some kind of career. Wow. So I think it's about, I love the pathway thing and I understand why it works, but I think there needs to be a lot more flexibility and ultimately personalization of our healthcare.
I think you're right. And something happened to me actually, because I take thyroxine because I've got an underactive thyroid. I take
we all do. We all do.
Blood pressure pills. And then I was told that I had to take statins. And I said, why? And they said, well, because your mother had a stroke and your grandmother had a stroke, and in 10 years time or 15 years time you might have a stroke. So dutifully, and I'm not like this, believe me, I do not take pills, I took statins. Within a week I was covered in a rash from my feet to my thighs, and I'm talking about something that looked like phlebitis. It wasn't, but it was big red, and they went, oh my God, stop them, you're allergic to them. Now that's why I'm interested in what you're saying, because that should never have happened, should it?
In one way, no. In another way, I suppose it's hard because we do have to in some ways work with doctors, and if they give us the medication, we need to try it. Like I did, I had infusion medications, biologics, yes. And then I had liver problems, and then they thought I had leukemia. That it just like, hang on a minute. Before I was dealing with this just with diet, and I seem to have got through my life quite well in that way. So was it really necessary to put me onto a different pathway and even risk those things happening? So I think the main thing, and this is, I just did a conference last week, over 50 countries, a summit which was about hearing from the patients, and I think there was a lot of goodwill, and there's definitely a desire to put patients at the center, but I think still too often doctors are like, okay, I'm the doctor, so it's kind of a donor-recipient relationship, and we need to change that balance so that it's, we want to be involved in our healthcare. We don't just want to be given medication we don't even know about. We need to understand what it is.
I totally agree. Yeah,
absolutely. Darling, I'm going to take us on a different course. I want an injection of happy. Forget medication. An injection of happy, darling. So I want to know, what has made you happy in these last mad months? And also, what do you see? Because now we have a little light at the end of this hideous tunnel. What do you feel about the future? What are your ideas?
Oh, that's such a lovely question. I think that happy is always a weird one. I think I said this to you last time. I find the whole concept of I've got to be happy, I find that hugely pressurizing. I just want to feel at peace within myself. I think the thing that when everything's gone, when you feel like you've lost everything, which many of us have felt for various reasons, I think the thing that I always try to find is hope. And by that, I don't necessarily mean like sort of crass appreciation. Isn't my life great even when it isn't? But just that sense of something will happen, because I'm at an age now where I can see, even when the bad stuff happened, there was something good ahead. So I think it's having the hope and not losing sight of that. And I think for my situation, there's 6 of us living in this house. There's, I've had a child in and out of hospital in the last week with their mental health, and that's a different picture to perhaps my single friends who felt bad enough at not having a partner, some of them before lockdown, and now have entered into this unbelievable loneliness. And so I think for all of us, there's just, coming out of lockdown, it's like, I just need to get my hope back. I think absolutely. We can begin to move towards happy experiences. No one tells us we've got to be happy, or let's appreciate everything a bit more. I want to say, buzz off, leave me alone.
I totally agree. And it's those moments which aren't happy, but moments that you just are at peace, or there's a moment of being present as opposed to in the panic or in the future. And I think sometimes just being present, looking at a snowdrop, just gives one a bit of peace, because it's spring, it's a beginning, and we're on the path, a different path.
Oh, I do like the sunshine though.
Carrie.
Last week.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
Oh, I know. Oh, Carrie,
Exactly.
I have to say, you know what? You have done and are still doing so much in your life, you know, singing, dancing, acting, politics, medical profession. I mean, everything. And you've got the CBE. I mean, incredible. What would you say is your proudest achievement of all those things?
I think my proudest achievement is that I've not killed anyone in my family. They're all still here. I don't know how that happened. Because I can tell you, sometimes, no, I think the proudest achievement, I think there's the big scale stuff. I think for all of us that are in the arts, you get those great moments where, you know, you get the call and they're like, go and coach Gwyneth Paltrow, or, you know, those things. It's just like, so exciting, you know, and I try to never lose that excitement. I want to feel, if I get that call, I want to feel like I did at 16 when I got asked to work on Top of the Pops and there was Duran and Spandau, you know, I want to feel that excitement.
Yeah,
but
we want
on
that.
level, it's our hinterland, isn't it? It's the small things. They're not small, they're the bigger things, really. It's the, my child has, you know, spent years, my 19-year-old was in and out of hospital for 3 years, and now they're doing so well. That doesn't mean every day's perfect, but, you know, they haven't been in hospital for 3 years. So that to me is like, wow,
Massive.
what a massive
Major.
It really is.
What's coming now for you? Now that we're entering out of lockdown, what does the future hold? What amazing work have you got coming up?
You know, it's so interesting, isn't it? The way that I think for a lot of us that do performance, we don't actually know, because I think everyone was so difficult, found it so difficult. I know in November, December, on our radio show, we kept, every week we interviewed someone that would say, and next week we've got this event that's happening, and we would be there on air going, yeah, you can go, it's going to be great. And every week there was another new measure that meant everyone we've interviewed basically is no longer doing their show. So I think there's been a kind of, in this last lockdown, I think our industry has just gone, let's not book anything. And that has made it very hard for us mentally. But I'm expecting, you know, I do think we are so performance starved. And that's, it's not the same online. It's really, really not. It's not the same as sitting in an audience and just going, wow, I'm here, and feel that frisson of, you know, other members of around you, like, oh, we're all, you know, we're all doing Hamilton or something, you know, all of that. I can't wait for that to come back. So I guess for David and I, our coaching will go back to being, and it has been busy online, weirdly, but I think that there'll be people that have got shows that they've got to do, so they're going to need coaching. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got quite a lot of speech. I do a lot of speech making, so I've got quite a few of those gigs coming up. Those are really exciting, and that kind of brings together all my passions. That really hits the sweet spot. So yeah, that, and we've just got a book deal, so we'll be writing. Yeah, there's bits and pieces going on. I mean, I don't know how I fit it all in, really.
If you want something done, ask a busy person.
So true, isn't it? Yeah. You're so right. Absolutely.
So true.
Because you sort of kind of make time for it. When I'm not doing anything, I don't do anything. And when I'm
exactly the same, Debbie. 100% exactly like that. I'm like, I just need to go and read a book in bed now, because that's about as much as I can manage. And then last week, because I did this big summit, I'm just firing on all cylinders, you know, all weekend I've just been like creating. And I think it's when you're a creative, the minute you start creating, you realize there is something when you're creating that if you're not creating, you're dead. You have to have,
you lock down.
It's just like being alive. It's like oxygen, creativity.
It's very good for your mental health as well, and anxiety.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you.
So, Carrie, on a personal level, I would like to know when you're going to get back to teaching in real life, when people can come and see you, because my daughter is waiting for you. She's saying, when are you going to go back to their proper teaching where I can go to their house and see them? When's that going to happen?
I think, well, the kids go back to school next week, don't they? So
Yeah.
I'm guessing bit by bit, we'll be able to open up the doors. I mean, we have a separate situation. This room that I'm in here now is separate to the rest of the house. So we can actually do stuff during lockdown.
But I suppose
outside,
with singing,
outside.
you know,
Yeah.
it's very hard to socially distance when you're singing.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't want someone's gob all over your face, do you?
No. Definitely not.
But just before we go, I think it's quite interesting what you were talking with Sherry at the very beginning. And going back to all of us have underactive thyroids. Don't you think that is really weird?
Yes, I do. And it makes you think, with all the surveys and all the evidence gathering that goes on now in our healthcare system, what is it that you four must have in common that you've all developed that? I mean, that is a bit strange.
Do you know what I think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's an age, and I think it's a generalization. I'm sorry, but I do. That's
I've had my underactive thyroid for 20 years.
So have I.
Me too.
I got mine with. So it can't be age. It must be something in your metabolism that changes. And I wonder whether it's, I don't know, babies, menopause.
I had my menopause early at 42, and I got my underactive thyroid then. But for me, it's
So
also
did I.
hereditary.
Yeah.
I also, it's hereditary. It comes down the family as well. So I don't know if that's anything to do with it as well, whether that's a trigger.
I think we're getting better at diagnosis as well. So I'm sure that there were people of our parents' generation that had this stuff that probably didn't even know that.
Exactly.
My grandma, interestingly enough, my grandma had it, but her doctor didn't, she wasn't medicated, she was fine. So people, and she had no problems with it. So I think what happens now with borderline stuff like this, they medicate it, whereas before they didn't. And then you're right, you're put on a pathway, and how much it costs the National Health for some people like us with a chronic condition that we get free pills because we have to, and we get free everything with that. So that, you know, what that strain puts on the NHS, it's really interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely. When you think about the fact that possibly, I don't know about that condition, but there are so many of these conditions that can be treated with diet, through diet, you know, different things, and preventative. That's the most important thing, because we built a critical care system.
Yeah.
Very hard to talk about preventative.
Well, I'll tell you what, Carrie, my mother said when I got the menopause, and I had it really bad. I still, and now I'm 120, I still get hot sweats now at night.
Oh,
but
I had one of those last night.
My mother came to me and she said, "You do not have the menopause." I refused, absolutely refused to have the menopause. And I have not had it, which she did. And she said, "So you must refuse it and it will go away." And she was adamant. And yet I know she went balmy because I know how she treated me. And she must have had it then when I was about 13. "No, you refuse to have it." So I
love it. I love that generation was so brilliant. It reminds me of David's mum, where everything you say, "Oh, I've got a really achy elbow," and she'd say, "It's wind." How is everything wind? How is that possible? "I've got a headache. It's wind."
It's going to be my thing with everything now. Carrie, will you come back and see us again soon?
Always.
We love to see you. You are a breath of fresh air in our little nest, and we adore you. And thank you for everything that you're doing. But thank you most of all for being a WonderBird friend. Thank you, darling.
Thank you,
Carrie.
Thanks, darling.
Bye, darling.
Oh, that was so fabulous. So uplifting.
I love her. She's wonderful, isn't she?
Yeah,
absolutely. Darling, who is coming in on Wednesday, please?
Oh, Simon Williams. Oh, sorry, Sherry. Sherry, are you standing still?
Oh, I adore Simon Williams. I adore him.
Yes, Simon Williams.
I do.
Heartthrob from our youth. Still heartthrob now.
Yes.
Actually, if it's at all possible, he's even more handsome than he was years ago.
Very handsome.
Yes.
He's
very.
I mean, I watch upstairs, downstairs all the time on a loop. I never leave. It goes to bed with me, even. So
it's too much information. Too much information, Sherry.
Well, you can,
I'm sorry.
Sherry, you're going to
tell him that, darling.
I will tell him.
I'm sure he'll be delighted, and I will ask his wife Lucy to keep the sort of the handcuffs on him. Otherwise, he might run. Anyway, so we shall see you guys.
Okay, Debbie, now you're talking handcuffs. Now you're talking handcuffs, darling. I have to stop. Please.
Yeah, 50
It's going
Shades.
thank you. I'll see you on Wednesday. I'm going. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.